Hey guys, tonight we're going to slow things down and sit with a story that matters. Angela Hayes, a black woman in her late 30s, is a titan in Chicago's financial world, a CEO who's cracked glass ceilings with quiet grit. But today she steps into her own bank Pinnacle Trust, not as a leader but as an ordinary customer, testing the waters of fairness. What she finds cuts deep prejudice that stains the institution she's built. Before we begin, please like the video and subscribe, but only if stories like this truly move you. Comment your city and the time you're watching. Now close your eyes or don't, it's your choice. Either way, you're about to witness something real. The Chicago morning hums with purpose, the downtown air crisp with autumn's edge. Pinnacle Trust's flagship branch looms on LaSalle Street, its glass facade catching the sunrise in sharp golden slants. Inside, the marble lobby gleams under chandeliers, a cathedral of wealth, where heels click in rhythm and hushed voices weave through the clatter of keyboards. Angela Hayes steps through the revolving doors, her tailored gray coat brushing her knees, a simple leather purse slung over her shoulder. Her natural curls are swept into a low bun, her face bare of the bold makeup she wears in boardrooms. To the untrained eye, she's just another customer, unremarkable in her understated elegance. But her eyes, sharp and searching, miss nothing. She's here on a mission, not as the CEO who commands this empire, but as a woman testing the pulse of her own creation. For months, whispers of unfair treatment have reached her, complaints buried in polished reports. Stories of customers dismissed for their skin, their accents, their clothes. The data sparkles, but the truth festers. Angela, who spent 2 decades carving her place in a world that often tried to shrink her, can't let it stand. She's seen too much, fought too hard to let prejudice taint Pinnacle Trust. So today she's invisible, a ghost in her own kingdom, watching. The lobby buzzes with morning rush. A line snakes from the teller counter, where three young tellers, two white, one Latino, handle transactions with varying degrees of warmth. Angela joins the queue, her purse clutched lightly, her posture relaxed but alert. She scans the room, noting the details. The polished brass fixtures, the faint scent of coffee from a nearby kiosk, the way sunlight spills across the marble like a promise. But beneath the sheen, she senses something sour. A white man in a crisp suit breezes past the line, greeted with a teller's eager smile, and whisked to a private desk. An elderly black woman, clutching a worn handbag, is waved to the back of the queue with a curt, "Take a number." Angela's jaw tightens, but she holds her silence, her heart a quiet drum of resolve. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled. She steps forward as the line moves, her eyes catching a young teller, Ethan, whose boyish grin fades when he glances at a South Asian couple ahead of her. "You need 2 forms of ID for that," he says, his tone clipped, though the couple's paperwork seems complete. The man fumbles, his wife's face flushing with embarrassment as Ethan leans back, arms crossed, his skepticism loud in the quiet lobby. Angela's fingers curl around her purse strap, a flicker of anger warming her chest. She's seen this before, not here, not in her bank, but in the world that raised her, the one that taught her to stand taller when others tried to make her small. When her turn comes, she approaches Ethan's window, her withdrawal slip and ID ready. "I'd like to withdraw $200,000 from my account," she says, her voice calm, each word precise. Ethan's eyes flick up, then down, lingering on her coat, her curls, her skin. His grin vanishes, replaced by a thin, skeptical line. "That's a lot of money," he says, loud enough for the line to hear. Heads turn, whispers ripple. Angela feels the weight of their stares, but her expression doesn't waver. "It's within my account limit," she replies, sliding her ID forward. Ethan picks it up, holding it to the light, as if it's a forgery, his brow furrowing with exaggerated doubt. "I'll need to check this," he mutters, tapping keys with deliberate slowness. The air thickens. A woman behind Angela shifts impatiently, muttering, "What's the holdup?" Ethan calls over a colleague. Lisa, a white woman in her 20s with a tight ponytail and a badge that reads Senior Teller. Lisa glances at Angela, her eyes narrowing. "This amount needs manager approval." She says, her tone sharp, as if Angela's request is a personal affront. Angela nods, her lips pressed into a faint smile, but inside her heart aches, not for herself, but for every customer who's faced this scrutiny, this unspoken assumption that they don't belong. Lisa strides to a glass-walled office, returning with the branch manager, Diane Kessler, a white woman in her 50s, whose tailored blazer and steely gaze scream authority. Diane plants herself at the counter arms, crossed her face, a mask of disdain. "You're requesting $200,000, she asks, her voice carrying across the lobby, sharp as a blade. Angela meets her gaze, unflinching. "Yes, from my personal account." Diane's lips curl into a cold smile. "We serve elite clients here," she says, each word dripping with judgment. This kind of transaction raises red flags. The lobby falls silent, the weight of her words sinking in. Customers exchange glances, some curious, others judgmental. Angela's pulse quickens, but her voice remains steady. "I've provided all required documentation. Please process my request." Diane leans forward, her eyes raking over Angela's coat, her simple purse, as if they confirm her suspicions. "I'm not sure you understand how things work here," she says, louder now, ensuring the crowd hears. "We can't just hand out that kind of money to anyone." The word anyone lands like a slap, its meaning clear. Angela's hands clench, but she holds her silence. Her dignity, a shield against the rising tide of prejudice. Ethan smirks. Lisa nods approvingly, and the lobby hums with tension. Phones emerge, recording the scene, their lenses glinting like eyes in the sunlight. Angela feels the sting of being watched, judge reduced, but she's not done. Not yet. The motif of her gray coat, a quiet symbol of her hidden power, brushes against the counter as she shifts her weight. It's more than fabric. It's her armor, her disguise, her reminder of the battles she's won. Diane's voice cuts through again, colder now. "Step aside. We'll need to verify your identity further." Angela doesn't move, her eyes locked on Diane's. "There's no need," she says softly, but with an edge that makes Ethan pause. Diane scoffs, turning to Lisa. "Call security. This is getting out of hand." The lobby holds its breath, the air heavy with injustice, but Angela's resolve burns brighter. She's not just a customer today, she's a reckoning, and the truth is closer than anyone knows. The marble lobby of Pinnacle Trust pulses with a restless energy, sunlight slicing through tall windows to cast jagged shadows on the polished floor. Angela Hayes stands at the teller counter, her gray coat a quiet anchor amidst the storm of scrutiny. The air hums with the faint buzz of fluorescent lights and unspoken prejudice, the weight of dozens of eyes pressing against her. Diane Kessler, the branch manager, looms before her, her cold smile a blade honed by years of unchallenged authority. "You're causing a scene," Diane says, her voice sharp enough to cut glass, each syllable designed to shame. Angela's heart thumps a steady rhythm of hurt and resolve, but her face remains a mask of calm. She's faced worse boardrooms where her ideas were dismissed, gala dinners where her presence was questioned, but this in her own bank stings deeper. Diane's words linger, a public indictment. "We don't hand out cash to just anyone," she repeats, her gaze raking over Angela's simple attire, her natural curls, her rich brown skin. The subtext is clear. Angela doesn't belong. Not here, not in this gleaming cathedral of wealth. Ethan, the young teller, leans back in his chair, his smirk widening as he senses Diane's approval. Lisa, the senior teller, stands rigid, her ponytail swinging as she nods, complicit in the manager's verdict. Customers in the line shift, some whispering, others recording their phones, glinting like vultures circling. "What's her deal?" a man mutters, his voice low but loud enough to sting. Angela's fingers tighten around her purse, the leather cool against her palm, but she holds her silence, her dignity a fortress. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled. Angela's eyes flick to the elderly black woman from earlier, now seated in a corner, her worn handbag clutched tight, her face etched with quiet resignation. The memory of her dismissal waved off with a curt, "Take a number," fuels Angela's resolve. This isn't just about her. It's about every customer who's been made to feel small. Every name doubted, every identity questioned. She straightens her gray coat, brushing the counter, a subtle reminder of the power she's chosen to conceal. "I've provided my ID and withdrawal slip," she says, her voice low but firm, each word a challenge. Diane scoffs, crossing her arms. "That's not enough. We need to ensure this is legitimate." Her tone drips with condescension, as if Angela's request is a childish whim. Ethan pipes up, his voice laced with mockery. "Where'd you even get that kind of money?" he asks, loud enough for the lobby to hear. A few customers chuckle their amusement, a needle in Angela's chest. She feels the heat of their stares, the weight of their assumptions, but her expression doesn't falter. "It's my account," she replies, her gaze locking onto Ethan's. "Your records will confirm that." He hesitates, his smirk faltering for a split second, but Diane steps in her authority a wall. Enough, she snaps, turning to Lisa. Run a full verification and call security now. Lisa nods, hurrying to a phone, her movements jerky with nervous energy. The lobby tenses, the air thick with anticipation, as if the room itself knows a storm is brewing. Angela's heart aches, not for the humiliation, but for the betrayal. Pinnacle Trust was her vision, built on decades of sweat and sacrifice, a place where fairness was supposed to reign. She remembers the late nights drafting policies, the battles to diversify leadership, the speeches promising equality. Yet here in this gleaming lobby, her own staff wield prejudice like a weapon. The motif of her gray coat feels heavier, now a cloak of resilience against the rising tide of injustice. She glances at the security guard approaching, a burly man in his 40s, his hand resting on his radio. "Ma'am, please step aside," he says, his tone neutral but firm. Angela doesn't move. "I'm not causing a disturbance," she says softly, her eyes holding his. He pauses, uncertainty flickering in his gaze. Diane's voice cuts through, colder now. "You don't belong here," she says, the words a deliberate blade meant to wound. The lobby gasps, a collective intake of breath as customers exchange shocked glances. Phones rise higher, their lenses capturing every moment. Angela feels the sting, sharp and familiar, a reminder of every time she's been told she's not enough, not smart enough, not polished enough, not white enough. But she's fought those battles before, in courtrooms and corner offices, and won. Her hands clench, but she holds her silence, her quiet strength a rebuke to Diane's arrogance. "Process my request," she says again, her voice a quiet thunder reverberating in the hushed room. The security guard shifts, unsure, as Lisa returns, her face pale. "The system's taking a while," she mutters, avoiding Angela's gaze. Diane seizes the moment, her voice rising. "We serve elite clients, people with transparent backgrounds. If you can't prove your funds, we'll have to report this." The threat hangs heavy, a public accusation of fraud. Angela's pulse races, but her mind is clear. She's not just a customer now. She's a witness to a deeper rot, a systemic flaw she can't ignore. The elderly woman in the corner meets her eyes, a silent nod of solidarity, and Angela's resolve hardens. She's not leaving, not until this injustice is laid bare. Ethan leans forward, his bravado returning. "Maybe it's a mistake, huh? Wrong account." His tone is taunting, a dare for Angela to crack. She doesn't. Instead, she reaches into her purse, her movements deliberate, pulling out her phone. The lobby watches, breath held as her fingers hover over the screen. Diane's eyes narrow, sensing a shift, but her arrogance blinds her. "Put that away," she snaps. "You're wasting everyone's time." Angela ignores her, her thumb tapping a number. The motif of her gray coat catches the light, a quiet symbol of the power she's about to unleash. She's not just Angela Hayes' customer. She's Angela Hayes' CEO, and the truth is about to break like dawn. The call connects, and Angela's voice is calm, almost gentle. "Marcus, it's Angela. I'm at the main branch. There's a problem with my withdrawal. You need to come down." The name Marcus lands like a stone in the lobby, ripples spreading. Lisa freezes her fingers, stalling on the keyboard. Ethan's smirk vanishes, replaced by a flicker of unease. Diane's face tightens, but she doubles down, her voice shrill. "You think a phone call changes anything? Step aside or security will escort you out." The guard hesitates, his hand dropping from his radio. Angela slips her phone back into her purse, her eyes locking onto Diane's. "I'll wait," she says, her voice soft but unyielding, a promise of reckoning. The lobby holds its breath, the tension a living thing as the truth waits to be unveiled. The Pinnacle Trust lobby hums with a brittle tension, the kind that crackles before a storm. Sunlight streams through the tall glass windows, painting the marble floor in golden streaks. But the warmth feels distant, swallowed by the chill of prejudice. Angela Hayes stands at the teller counter, her gray coat a quiet sentinel against the onslaught of scrutiny. Her phone call to Marcus, the operations chief, hangs in the air like a held breath, its weight shifting the room's gravity. Diane Kessler, the branch manager, stands rigid, her steely gaze faltering for a moment before hardening again. "You're wasting our time," she snaps, her voice a whip meant to sting, but Angela's calm, unyielding presence deflects it. The crowd watches, phones raise their lenses, glinting like predators in the light. Whispers ripple, curious, judgmental, hungry for drama. Angela's heart beats steady, though each barbed word from Diane digs into old wounds. She's faced this before, the assumption she's out of place, the subtle sneer that says Her skin marks her as less. But here in the bank, she's built the betrayal cuts deeper. A betrayal not just of her, but of every customer who's been dismissed, doubted, diminished. Her gray coat brushes the counter as she shifts its soft fabric, a recurring motif, a reminder of the power she's cloaked for now. She meets Diane's eyes, her own sharp with resolve. "I've done nothing wrong," she says, her voice low, each word a stone laid in a foundation of truth. Diane scoffs, turning to Lisa, the senior teller. "Check her account again. There's something off here." Lisa, her ponytail swinging, hurries to the keyboard, her fingers trembling as she types. Ethan, the young teller, leans forward, his earlier smirk replaced by a nervous glance at Diane. "Maybe she's got the wrong bank," he mutters loud enough for the line to hear. A few customers chuckle, their laughter a needle in Angela's chest, but she holds her silence, her dignity a shield. The elderly black woman in the corner, still clutching her worn handbag, meets Angela's gaze, her eyes heavy with shared understanding. Angela's resolve tightens, a quiet fire kindling within. This isn't just her fight, it's for the woman in the corner, for the South Asian couple dismissed earlier, for every name questioned without cause. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled. Diane steps closer, her voice dropping to a venomous murmur. "We've had fraud cases before, people like you with unexplained funds." The words land like a slap, their meaning unmistakable. The lobby gasps, a collective intake of breath, as phones capture the moment. Angela feels the weight of their stares, the sting of being reduced to a stereotype, but her expression remains steady, her hands unclenched. "My funds are legitimate," she says, her tone, even though a quiet tremor betrays the hurt beneath. "Your system will confirm that." Diane's lips curl into a cold smile. "We'll see about that. Security standby." The security guard, his hand still off his radio, shifts uncomfortably, his eyes flicking between Angela and Diane. He senses the wrongness here, the overreach, but Diane's authority holds sway. Lisa looks up from her screen, her face pale. The account checks out, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. Diane's smile vanishes, replaced by a flash of irritation. "Run it again," she barks, her control slipping. Ethan chimes in, his voice edged with desperation. "Maybe it's a glitch. No way she's got that kind of money." The lobby murmurs, the tension coiling tighter as customers lean forward, sensing a breaking point. Angela's pulse quickens, but her mind is clear, calculating. She's seen this pattern, prejudice dressed as policy, suspicion wielded as a weapon. She remembers her first job, a junior analyst, when a manager questioned her math, assuming her degree was a fluke. She proved him wrong then, and she'll do it now. Her gray coat catches the light, a symbol of her hidden strength, as she speaks again. "You're delaying a lawful transaction," she says, her voice firm, cutting through the lobby's hum. "I'd like to know why." Diane's eyes narrow, her arrogance flaring. "Because we protect our clients," she says, loud enough for all to hear. "Not everyone qualifies for that kind of trust." The words hang heavy, a public accusation. A man in the line, his suit rumpled, mutters, "She's got to be scamming." Another nods, phone raised, recording. Angela feels the isolation, the way prejudice builds a wall around her, but she's not alone. The elderly woman in the corner shifts her handbag, clutched tighter, her eyes fierce with silent support. Angela's resolve hardens, her plan taking shape. She's not just testing service now, she's exposing a rot that's festered too long. Diane turns to the guard. "Escort her out if she doesn't comply." The guard hesitates, his jaw tight, but steps closer. Angela doesn't flinch. "I'm staying," she says, her voice a quiet thunder reverberating in the hushed room. Lisa's typing grows frantic, her screen flickering with data. "It's all clear," she says again, louder now, her voice cracking. Diane's face tightens, her control fraying. "That can't be right," she snaps, leaning over Lisa's shoulder. Ethan, sensing Diane's unease, doubles down. "Maybe she's got someone else's card," he says, his tone taunting. The lobby stirs, whispers growing louder, but Angela remains still, her gray coat a steady presence. She reaches into her purse again, her movements deliberate, pulling out a second ID, her Pinnacle Trust corporate card, rarely used but unmistakable. "Try this," she says, sliding it across the counter. Lisa takes it, her hands shaking as Ethan's eyes widen. Diane snatches the card, holding it up as if it's evidence of deceit. "This doesn't change anything," she says, but her voice wavers, a crack in her armor. The lobby watches, the air thick with anticipation as Lisa scans the card. Her screen flashes and she gasps, her face draining of color. "It's It's a high-level account, she stammers, looking at Diane. The manager's eyes flick to the screen, then back to Angela, a flicker of doubt crossing her face. But her pride holds firm. We'll need more than that, she says, her voice shrill. Angela's lips curve into a faint, knowing smile, her eyes sharp with purpose. She's not just a customer, now she's a force, and the truth is clawing its way to the surface. The guard steps back, sensing the shift as customers murmur louder, their phones capturing every second. Angela's call to Marcus looms a promise of reckoning. Diane's arrogance, Ethan's mockery, Lisa's complicity. They're all threads in a tapestry of bias she's about to unravel. Her gray coat, a recurring motif, feels lighter now, a symbol of the power she's ready to wield. She stands tall, her voice soft but unyielding. You've made your assumptions, she says, her words carrying across the lobby. Now let's see what happens when you're wrong. The room holds its breath, the tension a living thing as the truth waits to break like dawn. The Pinnacle Trust lobby teeters on the edge of chaos, its marble expanse a stage where sunlight and shadow collide. Angela Hayes stands at the teller counter, her gray coat catching the glare of fluorescent lights, a quiet emblem of her restrained power. The air crackles with tension, thick with the weight of Diane Kessler's accusations and the crowd's restless curiosity. Phones are raised high, their lenses glinting, capturing every flicker of emotion. Diane, the branch manager, clutches Angela's corporate card, her knuckles white, her face a mask of defiance despite the doubt creeping into her eyes. This changes nothing. She snaps, her voice shrill, but the lobby senses a crack in her armor. Lisa, the senior teller, stares at her screen, her ponytail limp, her breath shallow. Ethan, the young teller, shifts nervously, his earlier bravado crumbling. Angela's call to Marcus, the operations chief, looms like a storm cloud, its promise unspoken but palpable. Angela's heart pounds, not with fear, but with the clarity of purpose. Diane's words. We don't trust just anyone, echo in her mind, a reminder of every barrier she's shattered, every room where her presence was questioned. Her gray coat, a recurring motif, feels like a second skin, now cloaking the CEO she's chosen to conceal. She meets Diane's gaze, her own eyes sharp, unyielding. You've had your chance to verify, she says, her voice low, but cutting each word a chisel against Diane's arrogance. The manager scoffs, tossing the card onto the counter. We're protecting our clients, she says loud enough for the crowd to hear. You're not one of them. The lobby gasps, phones tilting closer as the elderly black woman in the corner clenches her handbag, her eyes fierce with silent solidarity. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled. Angela's lips curve into a faint, deliberate smile, her calm, a weapon honed by years of battles won in silence. She reaches into her purse, her movements slow. Deliberate, pulling out her phone again. Diane's eyes narrow, sensing danger, but her pride blinds her. Put that away, she barks, stepping closer, her blazer taut with tension. Angela ignores her, her thumb tapping Marcus's number. The call connects instantly. Marcus, she says, her voice steady, resonant, carrying across the hushed lobby. I'm still at the main branch. It's worse than I thought. Get here now. The name Marcus lands like a thunderclap, silencing the whispers. Lisa freezes her hands, hovering over the keyboard. Ethan's face drains, his smirk gone. Diane's jaw tightens, but she doubles down, her voice rising. A phone call won't save you. Security, remove her. The security guard, his hand now off his radio, hesitates, his brow furrowed. He glances at Angela, then at Diane, sensing the wrongness of the moment. The crowd murmurs, phones capturing every second as Angela slips her phone back into her purse. I'm not going anywhere, she says, her voice a quiet thunder reverberating in the marble hall. Diane's face reddens, her control slipping. You're a fraud, she hisses, leaning forward, her words a desperate jab. Angela doesn't flinch. Her gray coat brushes the counter, a symbol of the power she's about to unleash. You're about to learn who I am, she says, her tone soft but laced with steel, her eyes locking onto Diane's. The lobby holds its breath, the tension a living thing when the front doors slam open with a force that echoes like a gunshot. Marcus Tate, a tall black man in his 50s, storms in his tailored suit, sharp his expression a storm of fury and resolve. His footsteps ring on the marble, each one a verdict. The crowd parts, phones swiveling to follow him. Diane's face pales, her arrogance crumbling, as she recognizes Pinnacle Trust's operations chief. Ethan stumbles back, his chair, scraping. Lisa's hands drop from the keyboard, her eyes wide with panic. Marcus halts at the counter, his gaze sweeping over Diane, Ethan, and Lisa before settling on Angela. Angela, he says, his voice thick with respect and regret. I'm here. Angela nods, her expression serene but unyielding. Thank you, Marcus, she says, then turns to Diane, her voice clear, deliberate, carrying to every corner of the lobby. This is Angela Hayes, CEO of Pinnacle Trust. I came here as a customer, but you've shown me and everyone here what's broken in my bank. The words hit like lightning, shattering the room's silence. Diane staggers, clutching the counter, her face ashen. Ethan freezes, his mouth open, his bravado obliterated. Lisa buries her face in her hands, a sob escaping. The crowd gasps, phones trembling as they record the revelation. The elderly woman in the corner straightens, her eyes shining with pride. Marcus steps forward, his voice low but commanding. Diane Kessler, Ethan Wright, Lisa Monroe. You're done. Effective immediately, you're terminated for discriminatory conduct. Diane's knees buckle, her hand gripping the counter to stay upright. No, she whispers, her voice breaking. I didn't know. I was just... Marcus cuts her off, his gaze unrelenting. You humiliated our CEO based on your biases. There's no excuse. He turns to the security guard, now pale and still. Escort them out. Collect their badges. The guard nods, moving toward Diane, who shakes her head, tears welling. Ethan and Lisa follow their heads, bowed, their careers in ruins. Angela steps forward, her gray coat catching the light, a symbol of her quiet victory. This isn't just about me, she says, her voice steady, addressing the crowd. It's about every customer who's been adjudged, dismissed, made to feel less. That ends today. The lobby erupts in murmurs, some shocked, others nodding, their phones still recording. The elderly woman stands, clapping softly, her handbag forgotten. Angela's heart swells, not with triumph, but with purpose. She's exposed the rot, and now she'll rebuild. Marcus nods, his expression solemn. We'll investigate fully, he says. No one else will face what you did. Diane, Ethan, and Lisa are led out, their footsteps heavy, their futures shattered. The crowd watches, a mix of awe and disbelief, as Angela remains at the counter, her presence a beacon. Her gray coat, a motif of resilience, feels lighter now, a testament to the truth unveiled. The lobby hums with a new energy, the weight of injustice lifting, if only for a moment. Angela's eyes meet Marcus's, a silent vow passing between them. This is just the beginning. The Pinnacle Trust lobby, once a crucible of tension, now hums with a fragile calm, the marble floor reflecting the late morning sun in soft golden pools. Angela Hayes stands at the center, her gray coat a quiet testament to the storm she's weathered. The crowd lingers, phones lowered, but eyes still fixed on her, their murmurs a mix of awe and reckoning. Diane Kessler, Ethan Wright, and Lisa Monroe are gone, their badges surrendered, their footsteps fading into the Chicago bustle outside. Marcus Tate, the operations chief, stands beside Angela, his presence a steady anchor as security clears the space. The elderly black woman in the corner, her worn handbag now resting at her feet, watches Angela with a pride that needs no words. The air feels lighter, but the weight of what's happened, of what's been exposed, settles deep in Angela's bones. She turns to Marcus, her voice low but resolute. We need a company-wide meeting tomorrow, she says, her eyes sharp with purpose. This isn't just one branch. It's a symptom of something bigger. Marcus nods, his jaw tight. I'll make it happen, he says, his tone heavy with shared resolve. The lobby, though quieter now, still pulses with the aftershock of Angela's revelation. Customers linger, some approaching hesitantly, their faces a mix of gratitude and shame. A young Latino man, who'd been dismissed earlier, steps forward, his voice soft. Thank you, he says, his eyes meeting hers. I've been through that too. Angela's heart aches, but she smiles, a quiet acknowledgement of their shared fight. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled. Angela's gray coat, a recurring motif, catches the sunlight as she steps away from the counter, its fabric a symbol of the dignity she's carried through this ordeal. She feels the weight of her role, not just as CEO, but as a woman who spent decades proving her worth in a world quick to doubt. The memory of her first board meeting, years ago, flickers in her mind, the only black woman at the table, her ideas met with polite skepticism until she forced them to listen. Today, she's done more than prove herself. She's laid bare a truth Pinnacle Trust can't ignore. The elderly woman approaches her, steps slow but steady. You did right, she says, her voice thick with emotion. Angela nods, her throat tight. We all deserve better, she replies, her words a vow. The next morning, Pinnacle Trust's headquarters, a sleek tower of glass and steel in Chicago's Loop, buzzes with urgency. The main conference hall, a cavernous space with floor-to-ceiling windows, is packed with employees, from executives in tailored suits to tellers in crisp polos. Angela stands at the podium, her gray coat replaced by a sharp blazer, but the strength in her eyes is the same. The room falls silent as she begins, her voice steady, each word a stone and a foundation of change. Yesterday, I walked into our flagship branch as a customer, she says, her gaze sweeping the crowd. I was met with suspicion, judgment, and outright prejudice, not because of my actions, but because of my skin. The hall holds its breath, faces flushing with shame or nodding in quiet agreement. Angela's words carry the weight of her journey from a young analyst fighting for respect to a CEO reshaping an institution. What I faced isn't new, she continues, her voice softening, reflective. It's what too many of our customers face every day, and it's what we've allowed to fester in our culture. She pauses, letting the truth settle. That ends now. The room stirs a ripple of anticipation as she outlines her plan: a new code of ethics, mandatory anti-bias training, a transparent reporting system for customers and staff. We will be a bank where dignity comes first, she says, her voice rising, resolute. Not just for some, but for all. Marcus steps forward, his presence reinforcing her words. This isn't optional, he says, his tone firm. Anyone who can't uphold these values has no place here. The hall erupts in applause, hesitant at first, then swelling into a sustained ovation. Employees exchange glances, some daunted, others inspired, but all aware that Pinnacle Trust is on the cusp of transformation. Angela's gray coat, though absent, lingers in her mind as a symbol of the quiet strength she carried into that lobby, the strength that's now reshaping her bank. Outside, the fallout for Diane, Ethan, and Lisa is swift and merciless. News of the incident spreads across Chicago's media, from local blogs to national outlets, branding them as symbols of prejudice. Diane, once a pillar of the banking community, finds her network dissolved. Her invitations rescinded, her name a whisper of disgrace. Ethan, young and once ambitious, faces a barrage of online condemnation, his job prospects buried under the weight of viral videos. Lisa, quieter but no less culpable, retreats into isolation, her career prospects dimmed by her complicity. Lawsuits from civil rights groups follow each court date, a reminder of their fall. Their lives, once secure, now unravel, a stark lesson in the cost of bias. Angela, meanwhile, becomes a beacon beyond Pinnacle Trust. Her story trends online, hashtags like Chai Stand With Angela, sparking conversations about everyday prejudice. She speaks at community forums, her voice steady, urging others to challenge injustice in their own corners of the world. Change starts with us, she tells a packed auditorium, her eyes shining with conviction. Not in grand gestures, but in the small daily acts of respect. The crowd rises their applause, a wave of commitment, a promise to carry her message forward. In the quiet of her office, weeks later, Angela sits at her desk, the Chicago skyline stretching beyond her window. Her gray coat hangs on a rack, a silent witness to her journey. She thinks of the elderly woman, the Latino man, the countless others whose stories fueled her fight. In a nation built on second chances, she's given Pinnacle Trust a new beginning, one rooted in dignity, equality, and truth. Her victory isn't revenge, it's a reclamation of what her bank was always meant to be. She leans back, her heart steady, knowing this is just the start. The truth once unveiled doesn't fade. It grows, spreading roots that will outlast her.